ladies and gentlemen, we got 2004, I think this is, Holden Commodore. Let's grab that VIN. It's a VZ Commodore V6. It's got a couple of issues actually, but let's see how far we get today. First thing I'm gonna do is the airbag light diagnosis. So just show you on the screen, on the dash. I don't know if you can see or not, but there's an airbag message coming up as soon as you turn the ignition on. Alright, let's see what we can do about it today. Just go on a scan tool, diagnosis. We just select the cars that we're working on. It's a 2004 model, I believe, or 5. Let's go 5. VZ Commodore V6. It's got an automatic transmission. Doesn't really matter for this one. And we go and scan the fault. I'm just interested on airbag first of all, so let's go on to the airbag. It's got other faults in different computers, I believe. Okay, so airbag left hand pretensioner circuit resistance too high. Alright, code 53. Alright, let's see if we go on to the live data, see what kind of data we get. This one just says I don't think this one's helping me anything. Let's go on to the data list. Passenger airbag, was it? I forgot again. Let me go back to codes. That was a left hand pretensioner, so on the passenger side, left hand. This is in Australia, so right hand drive. Data list again. Let's go see what kind of data we get on the left hand tensioner. Okay, got a left hand tensioner, airbag loop resistance, left hand tensioner resistance, right hand resistance. Okay, there's your right hand tensioner resistance, left hand tensioner resistance. Okay, I'm not too worried about other stuff because that's what the fault's showing us. Drivers airbag loop resistance. You know what, I don't like this one as well, but I'm not sure why it's not showing the fault code. See how the driver airbag has 3 ohms resistance and the passenger airbag got 999. That should also flag a fault code if you ask me, but we don't see that fault, do we? Now we only got left hand tensioner fault code. Weird, but anyway, we'll keep going, see how far it'll take us. So left hand tensioner resistance and a right hand tensioner resistance. Okay, like I always discuss on my videos with the airbag problems, usually around 2 ohm. That's what you need to see on airbag components, as in tensioners, your airbag itself, you know, things like that. Anyway, so having 999 ohm, that kind of suggests it's an open circuit. Let's see if the description says that. Left hand pretensioner circuit resistance too high. So that's what I mean. Resistance too high can mean it's open circuit. Okay, even if it says resistance too high, it's an open circuit. Not always. Okay, there's always going to be variables how they describe the fault codes, but most of the time I've seen resistance too high, it's open circuit. What that means is you could have an open in the wiring. You know, wiring is chopped off, or They could be open in the pretensioner itself. The connectors could be unplugged. You could have a problem in the airbag module itself, computer itself. There's variables there, so we'll see what this will lead us to. Alright, we'll just select that 2 resistance measurement up there, and we might go directly, because we know driver's side is good, right hand tensioner is good, 2 ohm, which is kind of like a universal number for like I said, airbag component resistance. So all I'm interested is in 999. When we can get that resistance down to around 2 ohm, we're gonna fix this issue. So let's go and do some diagnostic on the passenger side, on the left hand side, pretensioner itself. Okay, we are on the passenger side. Sorry guys, the car's a little bit filthy. And pretensioner on cars could be on your seat buckle itself. I've seen sometimes it's under this area where the seat belt goes inside here. So we just gotta find out where the wiring is going and what kind of buckle it looks like. This buckle looks like it does have a tensioner. Usually it'll look like a long cylinder looking thing, usually color black. If you see the buckle goes in there like that, where the seat belt buckles to, and you see a bit of a like a cylinder shaped black thing attached to that end of that buckle, usually that's your pretensioner for the seat belts. Okay, so it looks like this one does have that. Let me just go under and have a bit more of a look. Yes, it does. It does have that. So I probably will take this cover off, and you can see a yellow wiring harness going down here. Right here you see the yellow wiring sort of insulation that goes under there into the wiring harness. Usually airbags wirings are insulated with yellow sort of insulations. So it comes down, so it from under this buckle here, tensioner, the wiring comes out under the seat and then comes around this way. So there should be a connector somewhere under the seat. Let me see if I can find that. Yellow connector, yeah, right. Usually they are yellow connector. So what I'm gonna do quickly here is just disconnect this connector and see what our scan tool does, and we hope our scan tool is talking to us. Let's just go to trouble codes and see if he's still talking. Okay, alright, go to live data. Looks like it is still talking. We'll just pull that left hand tensioner and the right hand tensioner that are up there. So if you, when you disconnect this, usually what that means is obviously it's open circuit, and which that's what we're seeing on the scan tool right there, right? 999 ohm, it's open circuit. Let me try to unplug it, because sometimes when you unplug and plug this, it's enough to make a good contact. Sometimes that's enough to fix a car. So what I want to do, I want to quickly connect it and see anything changes on the scan tool, and I don't see any changes. Okay, now next thing what I'm gonna do is I want to unplug this, right? So this is going towards the pretensioner. This other side of the connector here with the yellow insulator, this is actually going into the wiring harness. So what I want to do here is, guys, I want to put some resistance here and see what's the numbers doing on the scan tool. Like I said, on the right hand side you can see there's 2 resistance ohm. That's what we need to see, that's what computer needs to see in order for this fault code to go away. So all I'm gonna do on the computer harness side, coming from the computer, okay, so like I said, this is going to the tensioner. I disconnected it, and I'm gonna put some resistance in this wire. So, and let's see what it. I'm just gonna use this resistance wheel. You can set your resistance and all that, and it's got 2 leads coming out of there. I'm gonna just put 2 ohms. So go 2 ohms, and I'm gonna feed that into that wiring harness. Doesn't matter which pin. I'm just gonna feed that 2 ohm resistors into that connector, and let me see what's the scan tool doing. So on the scan tool, I can see 2.5 ohms, so it dropped down to 2.5. These resistors sometimes won't give you precise value, so you can always adjust it. So I'm gonna go 1 ohm, and I'm gonna probably go 1.6 ohm on the scan tool. Sorry, on the register wheel I got 1.6 ohm here, but on the scan tool you can see 2. Sometimes it's not gonna be exactly same value you see on the scan tool. For some reason, could be heat related, you know, there's many variables. So now I can see on the scan tool I can make this I can make the resistance come down from 999 ohm to 2.2 ohm. What that means is the computer is fine, the wiring from here all the way to the computer is fine, and computer is reacting to it, so we know everything else is fine before this connector. So after this connector, what's left is just the tensioner itself, and this wiring harness and the connector to the tensioner is part of the tensioner. So there's not much really choice there other than to replace the whole thing. You could have a broken wire between here and the tensioner, that's possible, but it's already looking like a tensioner, faulty tensioner. Okay. Now before we go ahead, I just want to see quickly if I can go and erase that fault code. Maybe we might have to cycle the ignition on and off too in order to do that. So let's do that. So while I still have the resistor in the wiring harness for the tensioner, I'm just gonna cycle the key and turn the key on, and let's see if that fault code goes away. Sometimes you need to erase the fault code as well. Sometimes you don't. Computer does this itself. Usually 2 ignition cycle is good. I still got the airbag fault coming up. Let's go back off the ignition, back on again, and let's wait for the light on the dash. See if the airbag light sort of goes away or not. Alright, it's not going away, so we may have to erase the fault. So let's do that. Erase that fault. Okay, the fault code is gone. Left-hand pretensioner circuit capacitance too high. So now we've got guys, we have a fault code. Left-hand pretensioner circuit capacitance too high. Okay, now we did fix the resistance too high problem, but we've created a new problem here. So what that tells me is because we're using a resistor here, I think we are sort of shorting out the capacitance circuit. That's why the computer reads that very high number. So if I go back to live data, let's go back to live data and data list, and let's just go passenger airbag No, left hand tensioner, right hand tensioner. Okay. Alright, if we look here, see how my left hand pretensioner loop capacitance went 985, but on the right hand side we got 479 farad. I think it's a microfarad or nanofarad, something like that. You can look that up. I'm not too very familiar with capacitors, but what that suggests is it should have that 479 capacitance, but this side on the left hand we got 985. I think that's just the default value because we're not adding any capacitors here, we're just putting simply a resistor. So I think that's sort of like a default number that computer picks when there's a short, maybe, because if I disconnect that, I'll disconnect this resistor from the wiring loom going to the computer. See our resistance jump 999 on the, hang on, let's get it that right hand side so it's easier to talk about. See on the left hand tensioner resistance went 999, but we don't have any resistors here, it's disconnected, right? So it's open circuit, but computer puts that default number, I think, or however the computer does its measurement in the computer to check how many ohm does the circuit has. I think it just picks that number 999 on the resistance. Same with the capacitors. So right now it's disconnected 285. I think it's kind of like a bias sort of capacitance that computer picks when he sees the open circuit. I'm not very sure about this. I'm really not an electrical engineer. I don't know how they do it inside the computer, but I can tell when it's open it sits around 285, and as soon as I go to put this, I'll just put this resistors again in the circuit. Alright, I'll put the resistor, see how the resistor come down on a scan tool, 1.9 ohm, and that took care of our fault code of too high resistance. What I'm trying to say is, so when there is open, computer picks 999 ohm on that resistance, even if it's open circuit. There should be no resistance, right? But it does. Same thing with the capacitors. 985 when because we're putting the resistors in the circuit now. Now we're sorting out that circuit, and computer picks that 985 farad of capacitance as a default shorted capacitance, sort of like a circuit number. That's how it works, I'm thinking. Okay, now looks like this pretensions has capacitors in them. Okay, some does, some don't. Let me just talk about it a little bit. The capacitors are there in the airbag system in case of power failure, in an accident, battery is destroyed, or somehow the battery power is disconnected. The airbag should still be able to deploy the airbag or want to do its thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they have that backup capacitors as a backup power. They can still deploy that pretensioner or the airbag. I think that's where it comes from. But engineers can do things in a lot of different ways. I can't always say this is the right answer always when it comes to diagnostic and electricals, but most of the time I would say that's the purpose of the capacitors. Okay, so in this car the computer does want to see the capacitors value as well, make sure they are in the right condition. So saying that, I do not think this fault code we're getting here is really a problem. Okay, that's just because we are shorting out that circuit. Okay, now let's go back to live data again, same datas. Left hand, right hand. Okay, let's go back to the same data now. If I disconnect this, see how the left-hand pretensioner capacitance went to 285, and I think that's kind of like a bias, sort of like a biased number that computer picks whenever there is an open circuit. Okay, now we can prove that by going to the other side. We know the other side doesn't have a fault code, so we assume that it is in a good condition. So if we disconnect the other side, and if this number on the right hand side pretensioner capacitance 479 is sitting at, if we disconnect that side and this number goes to 285, because now it's an open circuit, we know that's just a default value, and it is also measuring the capacitance in the pretensioner. So let's do that. All right, we're just gonna pull this cover out of there, right, and we can get to that same wiring harness for the pretensioner on this side. Now let's grab our scan tool and we'll monitor that data again the same way we were doing it before. Okay, on this all right, so right here again, connector for the pretensioner. See, right now it's sitting at resistance sitting at 2 ohm, which we know that's where it should be, and there's no fault code for this side, and capacitance is sitting at 479. Okay, now let's disconnect this and see how that jumped to 285, like the left hand side. So that's just the open circuit default number from the computer, or however the computer does its measurement at the computer to see the circuit is okay or not, the components are okay or not. That's just the default number. Now we know this side is good, and as soon as I plug it in, I'll plug that in again and see how the numbers went up to 479. So that tells me that this pretensioner has 479 farad of capacitors in them. Okay, now we can do that test right here. Okay, well, I'll disconnect that back again and I'll grab the multimeter and I'll show you that number at the capacitors, at the plug here for the capacitors. Okay, so now this side is going towards the pretensioner and that is going towards the computer, so we're gonna check the one going towards the capacitors. Okay, all right, now I'm just gonna back probe this wiring. I don't have anything to fit in that front pins there, so I'll just go from the back like that. Now every time you want to check or do something about the capacitors circuit, make sure you short out this to the capacitors to discharge the capacitor, because the job of the capacitor is to store energy, store power, right? Now that capacitor could be fully charged at the moment, so we need to discharge that in order before we go ahead and do any testing on the capacitors, because we don't want to blow up our meter or, you know, anything stupid. So just simply, I'm connected to two wires on the going to the pretensioner. All I'm going to do is just touch this wire together, these pins together. That will be enough to discharge that charge that is in the capacitors. Okay, now we're gonna go and select capacitors right here. I don't know if you can see or not, that the sign with the two lines, that's our capacitors symbol. Okay, we're just gonna go and we're gonna select capacitors. All right, see the same number here, NF. All right, that's the capacitor. Now we're just gonna put it on our multimeter, the leads, and there we have it. We got 468 on the multimeter, checking directly at the wiring for the pretensioner, and I'm pretty sure that was the same number on the scan tool too. So just remember 468, let's go 470, okay, just to remember. Now we'll disconnect this and we're gonna connect this back, the wiring harness, to the wiring loom for the airbag. Now let's go and have a look on the screen. So we got 479 NF of capacitors. See, there's a little bit of difference. It could be just the meter or not reading 100% accurate, but you got the idea. We got 470 NF capacitance in this circuit, so we know this tensioner is good. That's what we see on the scan tools. Now let's go to the other side and we'll do the same exact test with the multimeter and see what sort of capacitance we got there. All right, this is already disconnected, right? Like right here, this is our wiring going into the tensioner, okay? Not the computer side, guys, just the tensioner side, and it is disconnected. And I'll just put that multimeter right there. Okay, now we're going to do the test here. Let's be safe and short this circuit out. So I'm gonna just back probe on this wiring and we're gonna short this circuit out quickly. And now we'll put it on the multimeter. I'm still on the same settings on the multimeter. Now let's see what sort of numbers we got here. I guess, hope you guys can pick that up. So we got 0.129, so not even 1 NF of capacitor. So there's something wrong in this tensioner. It's not giving me any capacitance reading. So there you go. So that's less than a 1. So what that means is there's not really any capacitance in this pretensioner. I hope that's what it is. Like I said, I'm not an engineer, guys. I'm trying to give you the best information I could from a diagnostic standpoint. Okay, now on the scan tool we got 285 NF at this stage. All right, let me connect this plug into the wiring harness. Okay, sorry guys if you can see or not, it's a little bit tight space there. So if I connect that, see our NF on the scan tool does not change, stays 285 for that left hand tensioner. Just forget that for now. Just look at that one. See how my capacitance number did not change, because computer knows that this is an open circuit, and that's an open circuit default value in my opinion, because we know this capacitor in this pretensioner is damaged. Okay guys, so even if we have that trouble codes right there saying capacitance too high, all that means is we were shorting out that capacitors with our resistor tool here. Okay, that's why it got that 999 sort of like a default high numbers, because we were sorting out that circuit. All right, this thing's gonna need a new seatbelt tensioner, no question about it. Okay, one thing I noticed earlier on visual inspection that I didn't show you earlier is because I wanted to take you through all the step-by-step guide on how you can handle this type of diagnostic on airbag pretensioners. One more thing I didn't show you earlier on visual inspection is the seat belt buckle itself. Okay, now there's a couple of ways you can do it, but I'll just show you a couple of ways. See how far this is sticking out. This is all the way up. Okay, on this style, buckle style pretensioner, there's a few different types of pretensioners, but this style pretensioner, the tensioner is on the buckle itself. See how far that's sticking out? Just remember that height. Okay, now we go to the other side. Now see how far that's sticking out. Can you sort of see this is sticking out further up than the other side? Okay, so what that already suggests is that side pretensioner has already been triggered and it's already been exploded. Okay, so physically looking at it, visual inspection, we already know that was bad, but I just wanted to show you all the testing in case that wasn't the scenario for a fault code like that. Now if you go and have a look here, what we're looking at is I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. So see where the seat belt is, they have a little plastic cover there. So if you look at that, if it's straight, nice and, you know, straight like that, it's good. Okay, now let's go to the other side and do the same visual inspection here. And it's really hard to pick up because obviously it's on the corner of the seat here, but if you look there, see that plastic is all crossed in, and it's not, the plastic is not nice and straight, that crossed in bit right here. So what that suggests is this seat belt is pulled in. When the pretensioner exploded, they pulled the seat belt in by doing this. Okay, it will cross in. So looking at that, how that is all crunched up in there, the plastic cover, that already suggests that seat belt tensioner is no good. Okay, that's the another way you can sort of visually inspect this kind of problem too. Okay, all right guys, that's it for the day. Just need a new seat belt tensioner. Hope you enjoy that video. I'll see you next time.